Mary here, and welcome to a new edition of Books and Cookies Book Talk. Today we're talking about big books. Basically why we should stop avoiding them and just enjoy them as much as we do the small books. Given that one of my New Year's book resolutions was to stop being afraid of big books, I have decided that maybe making a video about it and actually giving out some pointers to everyone else may help other readers stop avoiding them. I'm gonna put these down now because they're heavy as hell. It's kind of universally acknowledged that readers are intimidated by big books and they tend to usually avoid them, which is something that is kind of difficult to overcome, especially if you've had a few bad experiences with big books, meaning that you pick them up and then you spend months and months trying to get into them and trying to finish them. It's true, it's quite a commitment to tackle a big book because it usually takes quite a bit of time to get through it. Some of them that aren't quite as easy to read, especially books that fall into the high fantasy genre. What I consider to be a big book is a book that surpasses about 500-600 pages, because most of the books that come out and most of the books that I personally read hover around 300-400 pages. The reason I think most of the books gear towards the shorter side is that either authors or publishers are trying to go with the short and sweet version of events where the readers are kept interested and they don't abandon the book, they don't give it up, they just keep reading and finish it as fast as possible. When you think about it, the truth is that there's a lot more room for character development, for world building in a big book. And if you think about it, we always complain that our favorite books are short and we want them to continue and we need more. But at the same time, we're avoiding the big books that can actually offer us something like that. The hardest thing when we're dealing with books like this is actually starting them. For example, I got The Name of the Wind about 3 or 4 months before I actually started reading it. I left it when I had absolutely no books to keep reading. I had nothing else on my shelf. And then, only then I said, okay, I can do this, come on. It's just frightening to pick up a book that's huge because you always have it in the back of your mind. I'm going to spend a lot of time reading this. I'm not going to be able to read anything else in this time. I'm going to fall behind in my Goodreads challenge. I'm going to fall behind with other books. I'm just not going to be able to do anything else while reading this. And that is something that we should just erase, because if you go into it with this mindset, you're never going to be able to enjoy it. Like I mentioned, a lot of people's main issue is the fact that they're wasting time, and coupled with this is the Goodreads challenge, where you will fall behind if you spend 3-4 weeks while reading one book. When you think about it, when you read a book that's like this one, which is 1,100 pages, you're actually reading about 3 books that are normal sized, but we never think about it this way. Which is why I want to suggest to you guys to try something a little bit different. Instead of counting the books that you read a month, try counting the number of pages as well. And when you count the number of pages that you're actually reading, you are going to see that you're not failing. You're actually keeping up the same pace. It will be able to change your mindset a little bit, and you're not going to be as disappointed in yourself that you're wasting time with a book, and instead actually acknowledge that you're going at the same pace as you were before. Also, if you're really worried, if you're actually worried about falling behind in your book reading, after reading a book that's this huge, try going with a fluffy read, try going with something that you fly through. Try going with comics or graphic novels. Those are super easy to read, and try and alternate it a little bit. Pick up a big book, then maybe spend the next month reading something else, reading something that's super easy to read that will give you back the confidence that you need to have as a reader. It's completely and totally fine to take a break while reading a big book. While I was reading The Name of the Wind, this one right here, I took a 2-week break right smack in the middle of it, and I read 2 other books in the meantime. And then when I came back to this one, I had absolutely no issues finishing it because I came back refreshed. I came back with a more confident in myself and actually had fun while reading it. A bit related to this, you can also try a different tactic. Figure out some sort of stop point system. What if I read 100 pages a week? Or, like it's with George Martin, you have chapters that are in different people's point of views. You just mark, you read 5 chapters a week. It's completely fine to tackle it like this. It's completely fine to tackle it point by point because it will actually help you. It will help you process what you're reading. It's completely okay to read at your own pace, even if it's slower than your usual pace. It's completely okay to spend 5 months on a big book. I have a rule that I apply to pretty much every book, especially the ones that I am reluctant to start. And that is the 50-70 page rule. I pick up the book. I give it 50, 70, 100 pages if it's really long. And if I'm not hooked, if I'm not really interested by the time I hit that specific mark, I put it down. Either I come back to it at a later time when things are different, either I just put it aside and never touch it again. I think this is a really good method because often it takes a while for things to really get started, especially with big books. Sometimes it's really hard to get things moving as fast as you'd like. It's fantastic. It really helped me a lot of times. I hit the mark at page 30 something with this one. I hit the mark at page 50 with this one. I hit the mark when the first or second chapter character point of view happened with this one. So it's something that has proven very successful for me. There's also the assumption that big books are hard to read. The fact that a book is big doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be difficult to read. Take City of Heavenly Fire, for example. This book is, let me see, 700 something pages. And I think I read it in 2 days. It was so easy to read. The writing was very accessible. Everything, I was just so curious to see what was happening here. Don't be afraid to pick up a big book for fear that you're not going to understand it. That's not something, give it a try first. Before actually deciding that, man, this is too hard for me, I'm not going to read it. This was difficult to read sometimes, even if it's in Romanian, because the language was, the translation was done in such a way that it reflected a specific time period. And it was difficult to read sometimes, I'm not going to lie. So admitting that a book is difficult to read is perfectly okay, which is why it's okay to take it slow. The point that I am trying to make here is that we should stop being intimidated, scared, apprehensive when we're talking, when we're thinking of reading big books. Stop being afraid. It's just a book. It's not going to bite you. It's not going to harm you. It's just a big book. And the sense of accomplishment that you get when you finish it is unbelievable. And I want you guys to experience it. I want you guys to be proud of yourselves. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to read 5 big books this year. Maybe. Or 3 or 2. It doesn't matter. Read only 1. But go outside of your comfort zone and give them a try. So guys, this has been it for today. I hope I managed to convince you to give some big books a try. Maybe tell me about it in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time. And remember, books for the soul, cookies for the tummy. Bye guys!